You're listening to WLPN LP Chicago 105.5 FM, Lumpen Radio, Bridgeport. It's January 10th, 2019, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello and welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn, coming to you from a bumpin' co-prosperity sphere in beautiful Bridgeport, Chicago. We're in Studio B, as always. Studio A has the Lumpen Radio holiday party going on?
It's the Lumpen Radio member holiday freakout meet the DJ party.
That's great.
Actually, Chris, everyone's just here to hear this live broadcast. We have over 100 and some odd people sitting out there eating banh mi sandwiches, drinking beer, signing up to lead a revolution while listening to this show.
That's great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming out.
With a separate soundtrack, though.
Yeah, they have a separate soundtrack.
Yeah.
They just want to, and they can't hear because it's soundproof, so they just want to...
But they're looking at us.
They just want to watch.
They get the vibe.
They seem to have eyes in the back of their head, but I'm sure they're watching. Anyway, I want to thank everyone who is listening to us. I have to thank Lumpen Radio. I want to thank Lumpen Radio and its fearless leader, Logan Bay, as well as the guest producer, Jamie Trecker. Better not try to pull what he pulled last time. I did not appreciate that one bit. He stepped out of the room. Hopefully he's going to turn up the heat. It's only 115 degrees in here, so maybe he could make it a little more comfortable.
It's like the hot yoga podcast.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
Well, we rent this studio out for yoga before the show usually, and yes, it's a little hot in here.
It's a little hot.
Yeah.
That's how you connect mind and body.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to, thank Lumpen Radio, but I also wanted to thank everyone out there who's listening on 105.5 FM. If you are listening on, or if you aren't listening live, you can next time. It's 8 o'clock Central Time. You can listen on 105 FM, 105.5 FM, or the Lumpen Radio app, or TuneIn Radio, or anything like that. Any kind of those streaming radio services gets it. And listen live. Otherwise, you're probably listening via podcast. Thank you as well for downloading us and listening yet again. Hopefully yet again. If this is your first time, just hold on a minute. I've got a little thing just for you that's coming up. It'll be a nice surprise for you. But I want to thank everyone who has been listening and very much appreciate it. If you do enjoy the show, tell a friend or leave a review. We always dig that sort of stuff. But for those of you who are new, there's a little thing that I have pseudo-memorized that I like to say at the top of every show. And that's the goal of this show. And the goal of the Beer Temple's Insiders Roundtable, sorry, my memorization stumbles sometimes.
Cogently.
Is to open up a window into how the people making, selling, marketing, and facilitating the beer, getting into your glass, feel about the topics that are part of their everyday lives. Many of my greatest beer experiences have been talking about beer while sharing beers with people whose opinions I respect and admire. And it's these experiences I hope to capture with the Insiders Roundtable. With that, I like to mention that everyone's opinions on this show are their own. They do not reflect those of Lumpen Radio during its holiday party or otherwise, or any other entity that the people may or may not be affiliated with. All these opinions are their own. Yeah, now it's good, Jamie. Yes, everyone's opinions are their own. We're doing a special end-of-year show or New Year show the January 10th end of year show. So it's the third year in a row, I believe, that we've done this show. And we've got some repeats. I think 3 of our 4 guests have been on a year-end show in the past, and we've got a newcomer to the year-end show, I should say. So that should be fun. But let's start. We always go in order of seniority. We've got a pretty senior crew here. And it doesn't go by age. It goes by how many times they've been on the show. I'm sorry, Mr. Dust, but Mr. Strong.
Have been usurped.
Yes, but uninvited trips count. So, Mr. Edmar.
That's my cue.
You are.
I'm back. I'm
you're
off
back.
of social
I'm
media.
back, baby.
Yeah. What's up? What do you want from me? What am I doing?
Just saying
I'm
hey.
here. Hey, thank you, Chris, for
Present
not
as
inviting
ever.
me this time. Thanks for letting me just walk in.
Yep, you were invited. You were invited
Oh.
as you were last year. You were invited.
He did not know.
He doesn't- yeah.
I don't even know anymore if I'm invited to the show or
Just
not.
come.
I just hang out outside the door with my hand out, asking for a beer. And this time you said, "Are you coming in, Ed?"
Yeah.
So I'm here. So thanks.
You played it off well.
Thank you.
Like, oh yeah, of course I am.
No, I know how to do this.
What's new with you, man? Any new?
What's new?
New news?
Just I gotta say that there's what's new is like pretty soon, listeners will soon be viewers of the Insiders Roundtable because
Okay.
we've just got some new equipment that allow us to do live streams of shows in the studio to either the Lumpen Radio Facebook page or to Twitch.
Nice.
I'm not sure what is better.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think next episode we'll test it out. If you're down for that. And it'll
Sweet.
give me a reason to be at the show,
That's
right?
right.
I'm the tech guy now. You like that?
Yeah.
I have
Producer
to
Jamie
be here.
is a full belly
This is
laugh.
a real AV club guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
Video streaming.
That'll be good. And Twitch too.
Twitch.
I mean, we'll be Twitch
Video
celebrities.
gaming.
We'll be.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
So that's new. That's
Yeah.
the new.
That's it.
All right. Well, good. That's very exciting. When does that start?
Next show.
Oh, whoa. All right.
You're going to be the beta test.
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it next week.
All right. Well, I've been told I've got a face for podcasting. but,
Absolutely. The great thing about this camera angle too is that it comes from above.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
like,
love
they're
it.
like
And
selfie angles.
And everyone's face is obscured by a microphone.
It's
Yeah.
actually
Really compelling content.
It's just your phone.
And you're gonna be switching cameras live. And,
I don't know how to do that.
Oh,
I can't do
oh,
that.
oh, okay. But we need you here for technical support,
I gotta
technical
press the-
moral.
I gotta
support.
press the button.
Emotional support.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Well, thanks, Ed, and very exciting news there. I did not know that until I came here today. My next guest is Mr. Mike Strong of Pipeworks Brewing Company. Also, well, I mean, the man who is known by 1,000 names, really, at this point.
Thousands at least.
Nom de beers.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't
So
even
many.
keep track of what your actual name is at this point.
You know,
I'm pretty
it
sure it's Mike
It's
Strong.
lost in the sauce, so
Yeah.
who knows?
But Mr. Mike Schillau, how are you? It's
I'm
been a
great.
while since you've been on the show.
That's right. I think you're mad at me. What's going on? Am I not?
I can't hear you, Mike.
You can't hear me?
I can.
Now you can?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said I think Chris is mad at me. I haven't been on the show in a while.
He is mad at you.
He was threatened by my presence and my popularity on the show, and couldn't have that.
I mean,
Yeah.
ever since the Dust Brothers show came out back in 2017, I can't imagine even being invited back once.
How many subscribers did you lose during that
Yeah.
20-minute romp?
Yeah,
A lot, right?
a lot.
Yeah,
We're recovering 2 years later.
The Dust
Yeah.
Hour.
that's right. The Zombie Dust Radio Hour.
Yeah, the Zombie Dust
Probably
Radio.
the proudest moment of Lumpen Radio.
I'm second proudest, yeah.
Second proudest. What's the proudest?
Live broadcast from the moon.
Yeah, I forgot you guys did
Yeah.
that. That is much cooler than us making zombie dust jokes for 20 minutes.
I mean, you didn't hear much, but it was cool.
Yeah, well, in space, no one can hear you.
Oh, nobody was there. You
Podcast.
just like launched a
Yeah.
microphone and
Yeah.
had to land on the
It's cool.
on the moon.
Uh-huh.
Conceptual radio.
Yeah, there's no compression nor rarefaction in space, so
I
how are
know
you
what
going to
you're
record a
talking about. I'm the
podcast?
AV guy.
All right. Yeah, things are good.
He's only a web streaming Twitch
He's a
expert.
very good moderator of the chat room, which
Yes.
is what, Ed? How do you get to the chat room?
TLK.io/WLPN. Live chat.
That's right.
There you
The
go.
wave of the future.
The wave of 2006.
Yeah, if the future were 2015, to finish that quote, that famous quote. Well, thank you, Mike. And my next guest is Mr. Jerry Nelson of Unane's Cave.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. What's
Thanks
new
for
with
having
you,
me.
man?
Not much.
Anything new at all?
Not much.
No. Okay, well, moving on.
Oh, come on, Jerry.
That's not true.
That is baloney.
Oh, it's like you
Jerry.
guys know something.
Come on. Tell us what's going on.
Well, last time I was here, I was talking on the podcast. We were discussing how the craft beer industry is tanking, and that
Yep.
nobody should really invest anymore. And one of the bankers on here, after the show, I talked to him, and he ended up giving me a loan
That's great.
That's
to buy a building.
Okay. So you're buying the. Is this like
He's not reading.
Is this going to be like a rental properties for you? You're going to be a landlord now. What kind? You just bought a building, or
Well, we bought it. We wanted to.
what are you doing with this building?
We over about a year ago, we decided for the next, our next home, because we're in a strip mall right now. For our next home, we really wanted to purchase a building that we don't ever have to think about moving from. So it's a 27,000 square foot building. It's got 18-foot ceilings. It's really big, and we're gonna move our little system in there, and slowly ramp up to what we want to be eventually. And we don't even know the height of that is, but we're gonna have fun.
That's
You
awesome.
got room for like a small Mars brewery inside your brewery?
Ooh, like a speakeasy. Like you
Yeah.
have to know the code, and you pick up the go
Let
to
me
the
know.
phone
We'll
booth, and you
talk
pick up
after
the
the show.
phone, and then you get
I
to
could
go
probably
to Mars.
fit like 5 breweries
Yeah.
of my size in right now.
I'll take a little room.
What if you had like a little brewery bazaar where you like walked in and
Like a food court?
open air,
A brew court.
a brew court?
Wait a minute. That's being done by Bird City.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
That was a bad joke.
it was a bad joke. It's not entirely accurate. There's really no setup,
Yeah,
but
but a brew court.
an open
I'm
air
in.
bazaar
I'll take
would be
a
good.
booth.
All right, moving on. We got a lot to get through. Thank
Sorry,
you.
Chris.
We'll talk more, but we've heard enough of Ed for now. It's time to move on to our next guest, Mr. Chris Furnari. Also been a while. You were on the last year's year-end show,
I was.
believe. Yeah.
And I was also on the one with the banker that gave Mr. Jerry his loan.
So what you're saying is, you're welcome, Jerry. I think I speak for Chris when he.
I
Yeah.
think it was coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm your good luck charm, Jerry.
Definitely.
What's new with you, man?
Well, it's 2019, and we're just I think we got a couple days off of people bombarding us with all their news, and then the floodgates opened this week. So we're back to hating all the press releases overflowing our inboxes.
What have been some of the big ones that have caught your eye just this week? The more interesting ones.
Well, I think it's probably what's not catching my eye that's more relevant, and that's
Okay.
the amount of press releases with the word haze or hazy in it. It's like, hazy IPAs. It sort of started to come on last year, and now it's like everybody is fully on board, and that's every single press release we've gotten pretty much in the first 10 days of the year.
Okay. I don't want to spoil the stories of the year, but I can see that. Another thing I noticed was Allagash White in cans. That was kind
Yes.
of a press release that came out fairly recently.
Yeah, that was a hot one today.
Yeah. 16-ounce
I mean-
cans. That kind of surprised me, rather than 12-ounce cans, personally.
Why is that?
I think that's a six-pack beer. I think that's a six-pack, 12-ounce. Not a six-pack beer. I think it's a 12-ounce beer. I think it's one that I think of 12-ounce beers as ones that you're going to have multiples of, and maybe the pounder cans as ones that you're going to have maybe like one a day for 4 days or something like that. Just more generally. Not always. Yeah. There's exceptions, obviously, but...
Well, the 16-ounce 4-pack format is pretty popular in New England, especially with the IPAs. So I think maybe they were, trying to position themselves for that customer. And also, Allagash White is a 4-pack beer, or Allagash does 4-packs already. So maybe they're trying to keep consistency there, and they thought 16 ounces was better.
Right, keeping the number of beers the same rather than the ounces of beer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. And then my final guest, Miss Carrie Quartercracks.
Yes.
Yes. Got it. I know I had some issues with your last name last time. But how are you, Carrie? I see you quite a bit off air, but not too often on here. So thanks for coming on again.
Thanks for having me.
What's
I'm good.
new?
I'm just living the dream. Pounding the pavement, starting a fresh new year.
Rep Life. I've seen it. Hashtag Rep Life. I see it all over Instagram.
That's pretty much what my life consists of the majority of the time.
Okay. So if I don't know what you're doing, it's isn't there's some sort of Instagram person who's like Beer Rep Life or something like that. So have you seen him, Mike? Yeah, Mike's nodding his head. Okay. You can probably have the mic stay in front of your mouth most of the time, Mike, because I think Jerry... I mean, if we give him the mic all the time, he'll just,
Jerry's the most outspoken person I know.
Yeah. Won Loudmouth of the Year at the Illinois Craft Beer Awards.
That's right, which is the reigning awards.
Yeah.
That was the 36th annual time that was done?
39th.
39th. It was the first 39th annual.
Yeah.
It's one of the best events in the city.
Still waiting for the 40th.
The second 39th annual.
Yeah, that was about 3 years ago. We're still waiting for it.
It was so well organized that I can't imagine how it didn't happen the second year.
It went off, though. It went off.
It was great.
We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about what's new with Carrie. So
Cross promotion. I'm sorry.
Apparently. So let's just get right into it. We're going to do, instead of the beers you're into lately, we're going to do beers of the year. I want to know what beer you consider to be your beer of 2018 and why. It can be the most delicious beer you had. It can be the most surprising beer, or a beer that just went above and beyond in some area. But I want to know what beer and why specifically 2018 it was the beer of that year. So it can't just be like Allagash. Maybe a bad example. It can't just be like, Saison DuPont, because I really love that beer. Something like that. So who wants to go first with that? Let me guess. Oh, well, Ed's obviously on social media because he would have interrupted immediately.
Yeah.
I was having a hard time with that, Chris. Okay, because first off,
because I wasn't paying attention, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I've been in the show, and I drink all the beer you guys bring, and usually you guys bring really good liquid here, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many standout beers. I couldn't pick one that I thought was my favorite or the most interesting. I mean, obviously, to me, my favorite personal beer while I'm gaming has been a lot of hazy beers. As you know or may not know, I drink a lot of the beers from our brewery.
And you're a hazy beer brewer.
And I've been drinking a lot of
hazy
a lot of different beers. But always, or usually, when I'm drinking a bunch of different styles of beers, I'll crack open a Jungle Boogie, and it completely continues to freak me out. And it's really refreshing, and I love that beer. But this year, I think the beer that I want to nominate as my favorite beer of the year
for beers.
Is Vim, the barrel-aged Baltic porter that Eric served us recently.
Yeah, Eric from Half
and
Acre.
the reason why it's one of my favorites, because Half Acre is one of my favorite breweries. And, they have a barrel aging program with the Big Hugs.
Fantastic barrel aging program.
And they've been expanding it, and this is like a
Shout
14-month aged Baltic porter that's delicious, and I just dig it. So that's my beer of the year.
Vim.
Just because you loved it
Nice.
so much and you're
Vim.
digging kind of what they're doing.
It's the most
Vim.
recent awesome beer that I can recall.
It's the most recent thing I had.
Well, I will say,
awesome beer that I've had.
you and I, after
we,
the show,
we fought over this beer.
every week, pretty much, we're sitting there drinking the
And
beers.
everything's cool.
Everything's fine. It's the only time ever that we fought over beers to bring
back home.
back. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm bringing this," and you said, "No, I'm bringing it."
Yeah.
And we
Honestly,
went back.
that's
yeah,
the
and it
only
was like
time that's ever happened.
Ever.
Yeah. So
So
Interesting.
yeah,
that's
I
my
mean,
pick.
yeah. It breaks up friendships. That's how good it is.
Yeah.
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 Because you and I haven't
We
spoken.
haven't spoken to each other since then.
Yeah. That's great. Who wants to go next? Carrie?
Sure. So the beer that I chose was more like heartfelt, and it was
You're saying Ed's wasn't heartfelt. I got you.
no.
oh,
I mean,
oh.
yes, I was.
Yes.
No, one of the reasons that I continue to work in craft beer is because of the community of people that it involves, and so I chose Sierra Nevada's Resilience IPA project.
Very cool.
Based on the community giving and giving back to that horrible tragedy, and just I was on the website today just looking at all the breweries that participated and just how everyone banded together, and I just think that it was just a really great thing.
The Resilience IPA project. Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that's pretty amazing and historic in that it's, I think, in some ways the. Hold on, I'm going to try to talk while I stand up and move over.
And juggle.
The biggest collaboration of all time, because it's a collaboration in some sense between 1,000 breweries, so which is kind of cool. Or I don't know if you would call it, whatever. I'll call it a collaboration, even though it might not fit the bill for that entirely. But yeah, really neat. And yeah, what an amazing cause that it goes towards. Cool. Jerry, what's up?
I don't know. I'm just going to go with the most memorable beer I had, and it was at GABF, the WeldWorks pastry stout with I think it was a single barrel peanut butter cup. I don't know what they called it, but it was pretty good.
You pastry boy, you.
So you say my beer of the year, and then you list a pastry stout
That you can't
abomination that you can't remember, and then you say it was pretty good.
Oh yeah, it was really good.
Better than
Oh, it was really
than
good.
your
It's a
massive
glowing review.
better than
Right.
Massive Gains 5,000.
Well, that hasn't hit the market yet.
Oh, okay.
People
All
are
right.
clamoring.
Yeah, that was
Muscle milk.
Jerry. Jerry made an on the spot pastry stout with a secret ingredient that he revealed to be weight gainer, chocolate weight gainer, and he estimated that a 12-ounce serving of his stout packed, I think he said something like
31 grams.
31 grams of protein. So
Get drunk, get swole. That's
Yeah.
that's the new Michelob Ultra.
yeah, don't get drunk, get
It's for the gainers.
yeah, man, get
Yeah.
massive gains.
Still
Yeah.
working on the 15 barrel batch.
Be a total unit.
Okay. I mean, imagine the
No, you gotta
protein.
scale that straight up to like 500 barrels.
Yeah, just go all the way. Contract it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just go right to contract.
Grand Central.
Grand Central.
I mean, you
yeah.
guys are joking,
Thank you.
but I think the future is energy
Great
beer,
Central.
weight gain energy beers. You
We
know,
know we
there's a lot of
tried this
people who want
already. They-
proteins. People want to be able to drink like a shake and be able to get nutrients, gain weight, and just replace a meal.
The government's gonna ruin
You
our
wanna
dreams
replace
like
a
they did with
Snickers
Four
bar.
Loko.
Beers?
They're gonna kill us like they did with Four Loko. They did not see
A
the
collaboration with Soylent.
Yeah, Soylent Green / weight gain combo sounds amazing. If
Yeah.
you want to live in a dystopian world where that's about to end.
Just call it Gains,
If the
bro.
future is the
Yeah,
apocalypse.
gains,
then-
bro.
Yeah.
Do you even lift?
No.
There you go.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Do you
Johnny
even
Swole.
lift? Yeah.
But it's LYFT and it's a tie-in with the ride share.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
I got a
You
marketing
get
map.
50% off your ride home.
That's right.
There you go.
50%
No, ride
extra-
to Gold's
no, you
Gym.
you have to pay 50% extra.
Because
All right, we almost got
too
through
many
the
gains.
show. Okay.
I said
yeah.
as.
Okay, well, good. You know what? Jamie's here. I'll let him hit the dump button from now on. Okay.
Jamie says I'm clean.
Mike, while you're talking, why don't you tell us what your
I'm going to cheat and have 2.
Okay.
So personally, for
I
me,
felt like 4 because I've been doing like it leading up to this show.
personally, it was a Blaugie Vermontois I had at Beer Temple. When I started getting into beer, Saison was my favorite style, like far and away. And then when I actually started working in beer, I kind of started drinking things that I thought seemed relevant to what people were drinking and what was going on, like, and trying to be aware of style and what consumers wanted. And I hadn't really had a Belgian Saison in a long time, other than like Saison DuPont every once in a while. And I had that Blaugie, and it blew my mind. I think I came back and drank it like 3 days in a row.
Yeah, you did.
Drank a lot of it. Started buying all those bottles.
Met the brewer.
Yeah, I literally flew to Colorado to meet the guy. I was only in Colorado for 16 hours, and I was only there so I could have a picture with Pierre Alex.
Now there's a restraining order.
He doesn't know that I'm moving to the French-Belgian border, but when he finds out, he'll be psyched.
Oh, yeah. You'll just show up and you'll have, you'll bring breakfast for him and you and say, we're best friends now.
Yeah, he knows we're best friends.
Right, okay.
But yeah, and so trying to like follow what people are drinking all the time, I kind of lost track of what I actually really liked myself. And so like finding that again in like a very, I didn't think that I was going to order that and be like, oh, wow, this is exactly what I want to drink all the time. That was a really great experience for me. It happened at Beer Temple's tap room.
There you are.
Great draft list. But the other one is a Palatine Pils from Suarez. So I'm from the East Coast originally, and I was home for Thanksgiving, and we had a Sunday that we weren't doing anything. When I like convinced my parents to drive 2.5 hours up to Hudson Valley and to see if it was actually as good as everyone's talking about, and it really was. It's hard to make a style that is, been made in Germany very specifically for a very long time and make it unique and make it delicious and make it something that is a specific expression of an idea, and they really achieved it. And I think that's like kind of the wave of smaller breweries going forward. So that was like a really inspiring thing to drink.
Cool. Chris, you?
I want to cheat and have like multiple answers to this as well.
But the whole point is that you have to get it down, distill it to one.
I know.
Except for maybe cheated over several weeks.
I think all the responses so far are great, like stylistically, and the Resilience beer just in concept was amazing, and the way that they were able to. I haven't had it yet, but just the idea of it being able to react that quickly and order all the materials and put the label together, get it approved, and bring it to market within like 30 days. I mean, that's something that, like, if the entire 3-tier system could function that efficiently all the time, wouldn't that be awesome?
Well, it's not functioning at all right now. You can't get labels.
That's right, yeah.
You can't get labels approved or recipes. So.
But all that aside, I guess I would say there was, the beer that we named as our beer product of the year for our Brewbound Awards was Sierra Nevada's Hazy Little Thing. So I think they did a pretty good job of taking that hazy style and mainstreaming it, and broadening it to a wider consumer base. But for me personally, I really enjoyed the Dogfish Head Liquid Truth Serum IPA, and I was only able to drink that at our events, and I still can't find it here where I shop in Massachusetts. And I go to like a Whole Foods or a liquor store, and I always look for it, and I can never find it, and it bothers me because I really want to keep it in my fridge. You like it that
much? Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I think maybe because of that reason, I enjoyed the times that I did get to drink it. It was always fresh. It was 16-ounce can. Kind of had that juicy quality to it, but it wasn't a hazy beer in the way that New England IPAs are hazy, and it still had like some West Coast qualities. I mean, it was a nice balance of all the things that you want in an IPA.
That's cool. It's funny. In the past week, I did see that exact beer sitting on a shelf in a crummy little liquor store. I was in Delaware, which may have helped, but and then I turned around, and this is a nice segue to. Well, that won't be it's not going to be my beer of the year, but it's something I think is interesting that happened this year. I turn around and what do I see on the shelf but Cool Ship Resurgam, which in a crummy little liquor store. They didn't have really any cork and cage beers. Entire case of it sitting there. It had probably been there for a month. That's when we got it in Chicago. Not a single bottle had been taken, so I did the whole supermarket sweep and just took the entire case off the shelf and just
now
kind
on
of
sale
shook
at Beer
my head.
Temple.
Yeah, now on sale. Now we got a case in, and no, I did bring a bottle here. I brought a bottle here tonight, and that wasn't my beer of the year, but I do think it is interesting that beers like Spawn and Resurgam and like super uber whales to the old geezers like me are now seeing distribution is bizarre, and I think a sign of the times and a sign of the future that bigger breweries are going to be just putting out just craziness that I thought would never ever see distribution. I didn't think any of that Cool Ship would ever
Well,
be
it's
sitting on
crazy.
a shelf.
They're findable. They're buyable. They're not like you don't have to chase a truck to get them. They're like you can go to this to a store and get them.
But my beer of the year is also kind of representative, and it's
Hams.
weird. What's that sound? So is that? It's Skype. Oh, it's Skype. Okay, got it. All right, Jamie loves Skype. So my beer of the year is it's Le Jus from Alarmist, and it's because I think this is the year, kind of like how Chris was saying. He did hazy little thing, and I think I'm doing it for a very similar reason. I think this was the year of the haze whale. I think it will go down. I think the Chinese calendar will be changed, so the animal of that year will be a haze whale. You were born under the sign of the haze whale, and
Those kids are cursed.
yeah. And I think, it was the first year it was in a GBF. It was the biggest category ever in its first year, and that beer won gold, so that's why I'm choosing that one. It's the category in general, but I wanted to distill it to a single beer. So I figured Le Jus would be as good a beer as any to kind of represent the style. Which hazy beer would you
Ed
pick?
is currently giving a single
Well, you're not a
finger
hazy
salute
brewery, so I
to-
couldn't pick any Mars hazy beers because you're not a hazy beer brewery. You tell me all the time you aren't. So, in fact, you said it on the air today that you aren't.
No, we have a wide range of beers, Chris. Haze is a specialty, of course. But what would be the representation of a hazy beer? I don't know. It depends on what coast you're on, right? I mean, everyone from every part of the country thinks their version of hazy beer is the original version. So it's hard to say. But, Chris, like the Brew Brown picked, I'm sorry, what did you guys pick? Hazy Little Thing?
Yeah, hazy little thing.
Because, it's important because that is the beer that will bring it to the masses and will bring the category to the masses. And then people could argue over the juiciness and haziness and cloudiness of each beer based on that beer. And it is the beer of the year for the style of the year, and I think it will be for a couple more years.
Couple
Agreed.
more.
Absolutely,
Agreed.
absolutely.
Wholeheartedly.
Most people don't even know what a hazy IPA is.
Okay. There you are. Well, that's the beers of the year. I have to mention that you're listening to WLPN LP Chicago 105.5 FM, but I think I'm getting bugged by Mr. Trekker over here that we have to talk about some other shows. So we're going to take 60, 90 seconds or so.
What do you mean?
Yeah, well, there's other shows apparently.
On the radio?
Yeah, they're also
Besides
gonna be,
this show.
They're going to be videoed. So you're going to be in here, I think, 24
hours on this show.
Just to push a
Edmar,
button.
personally,
To
in here
push the
24
button.
hours.
Bought it once and then recharge the
and
battery.
then call Geek Squad if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Geek Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Ed again. Yep. Uh-huh.
Ed is currently wearing a white shirt, black tie. It's like a real good look for him.
I have a pocket protector with pens.
Did
in there.
you roll up in a
got a van.
VW belt.
Yeah.
No, it was a bug, right? Like a
VW
Beetle?
bug,
Like a black
blue and
white.
yellow.
Blue and yellow.
Oh,
Okay, you got
yeah.
your own thing going on.
All
Like a
anyway,
Michigan
there's other
thing.
shows that Jamie wants to tell you about, and then we'll be back with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. We're having a jolly old time here. I'm with my guests, Chris Fernari, Carrie Corticrax, Ed Marr, Jerry Nelson, and Mike Shalau, as well as producer Jamie Trecker. And
Radio.
we're doing the year-end show, so we got to talk about the stories of the year. What to you guys were the stories of 2018? I asked each of you to kind of come to the table with a single story.
Edmar looking very prepared.
Yeah. Yes.
What did I put in the notes? I think we already talked about it.
I think you put Amber Ale's really
I put
scaling
Amber
up.
Ales. Does anyone
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah, I see yours right here. I have it. Yours is left entirely blank.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So the story of the year of 2018.
You don't have to go first. You can think of something.
Well, I think
Thinking's not-
I've been thinking a lot.
You think on your
I've been
feet.
thinking a lot all day. This is my time not to think.
Okay.
This is I think this year represents one of the major cracks in the industry, based on the collapse of DME and Newlands.
you gotta read the outline.
Is that yours?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's where I got that
Well,
idea from.
We'll tag team this
I'll
one.
also,
Tag
yeah,
team, yeah.
yeah. Let's tag team this. I mean,
Well, it was not just the collapse of DME, but also Cargill selling off like their malting thing. Like a lot of supplier side problem for breweries. Mm-hmm. So DME was one of the more reputable producers of tanks
systems.
and brew houses.
Yeah.
And they went into receivership. They're a Canadian company, and they kind of just disappeared. And they
left
were
dozens, if not 50, 60
yeah,
breweries
a
hanging.
lot, yeah.
Meaning that a lot of breweries ordered their brewing systems from these companies,
Right.
and they typically have to put down 50% of the total cost of the equipment, which will be anywhere from tens to hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars.
Right.
And
And there have been a couple companies go down like that, but they were kind of more, I don't know, artisanal, if you want to call them that, smaller companies.
smaller companies. Yeah.
Pissant, I like to
DME,
call 'em.
DME, yeah, that's what, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they prefer to be
DME
called.
also owns Newlands, like very, very large systems, very, very reputable breweries having these systems. We have a Newlands system. Them going under has been a very difficult task. We're trying to onboard a piece of equipment that it's been very difficult finding people who are qualified or capable in installing this because the company's gone. That combined with Cargill, which is a huge supplier of malt for a lot of craft breweries,
yeah.
just entirely selling off their malting. They're a multinational. They do a bunch of like farm and food based production of
huge,
things.
conglomerate,
But
yeah.
they just got out of malting entirely. And then the other
Do
one
we
I
know
put.
if that was based on a decision of like some sort of corporados just trying to make a buck?
I can't
We don't
speculate
know.
on why
Yeah.
they chose to do it. I know that they were also changing the mix of varietal that was in one of their most popular base malts,
Yeah.
making Ida Pills, which was a heirloom varietal of Idaho, isn't it? It was made in Idaho, but they were starting to cut that with like less prestigious varietals of barley. Then they sold the entire company, and then past that there was a huge can problem. And procuring cans became very difficult for a while this year.
And you could also argue though that because we couldn't get these supplies, these cans, it meant there's so much demand for these cans, right?
Right,
And
but that doesn't mean there was demand for these cans in brewing space. What my understanding was that it was actually carbonated water.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the rise of
Seltzer.
LaCroix replacements.
Yeah.
Hard seltzers.
Yeah. So we were told that between two major beverage producers that are not invested in breweries, they ordered 1 billion units of cans.
Yeah.
And there's only a couple of can companies and only a few places in the U.S. that make cans, so it became very difficult for us to find cans. Didn't slow production or stop anything that way, but it was
Scramble for
it was really
sure.
stressful and indicative of how fragile that can be.
Yeah,
and so
especially
all these
for smaller
things,
companies who can't get access to cans.
Right.
It
And
was really messing things up.
and all these industries like the malt, brew house producers and tank producers, and packaging producers, like every phase of what we do, hops seem to be untouched this year. But it's interesting that there have been very infrequently have been supplier side problems for breweries, but there are now, and that's an interesting upstream problem that's being presented.
A big milestone, I think, for the craft brewing industry over the past 30 some odd years, right?
That this happened this
Yeah.
year?
Yeah.
It's been it's unprecedented that all three of those things
And
have been kind of difficult to deal with.
And I know, at least with DME, there were some people saying you might not see some of these effects for a while still, that there might be people who may go out of business potentially or have other, negative effects and negative consequences because of all this money that was, tied up in equipment that DME was supposed to deliver to them, and now just has their money and won't give them it back, and can't give them it back.
It
And
doesn't
don't give them
exist
the
anymore. The
equipment.
money's gone.
So you're in a situation where people are highly leveraged to get this equipment and then need the equipment to make the extra beer so they can pay off the loan. They now still have to pay off the loan, and they don't have the ability to make the extra beer that the equipment was for. I mean, it kind of, you can see where that leads. And, how many millions of dollars of equipment were they,
Many millions.
It was just a lot.
Well, I think one of the things, because of this, there's been some other suppliers that I've reached out to that I'm starting to get some quotes on some equipment, and they're like, their lead times are going up dramatically because of that.
Oh,
And
wow.
So it's, all the people who were with Newlands, they still probably want to get a new system so they can get on board with getting more beer going, but now they're going to have to wait a long time, and it's making everybody else wait too longer.
Well, this has happened before to another company that was not nearly as big as Newlands.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And some people lost whole paid-for brew houses that weren't even started. Newlands is even larger than that one. So it's interesting. I don't know what it is about these companies that seem to be insolvent or how they're structuring themselves, but it's kind of scary that if you can't build a brew house, if you can't have a brew house, you can't make beer, and if you can't have tanks, you can't ferment beer. So, it's like these ancillary industries that, and it's hard to believe that these would be improperly run companies. So that's another scary aspect of it, where it's not just like some guy in his garage that was like welding stuff together. It's like these are,
Legit.
$10+
company.
million a year revenue companies that are just not solvent.
And it makes me wonder, like, if I do decide on an equipment manufacturer, do I have to ask for financials from them? It's kind of, and how do I go about that? I don't know.
Yeah, like how much more due diligence do you have to do just because that your money is riding on the fact that this company is going to exist, which was never a problem before.
I will say, though, that I believe that not all breweries are brewing to their capacity, so you might start seeing a lot more partnerships of people either contract brewing or brewing for the people that are needing the equipment.
Totally.
Well, Carrie, do you want to take it from here? What was your story of the year?
First of all, the Green Flash stuff really hit home because, it was, I think in January of last year, they laid off some employees, and then they cut their distribution to certain states. And then I don't recall what month they actually kind of dissolved their brewing operations. But
It all happened really darn quick. I know that.
yeah, it was just for that brand. I mean,
They're a national brand.
a national brand.
Which is, I think, what led to them.
Because they tried to grow very quickly. I think that, I would caution people who look at growth as opening new markets, because that's not necessarily growth all the time.
Pipe fill.
Yep,
Yeah.
filling the pipes.
So that was, that brand, they just made some great beers, and I think they entered our market in a very great time. And then, what was it, 7 years later, possibly? I think, did they come here in 2011? I can't. It's all
Yeah, I think that's
hazy.
Probably
Yeah.
around then. Yeah, maybe a little earlier, 2010 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, just to look and 7 years ago they're thriving, and then now it's just all very
Gone,
sad.
yeah.
But then also, I completely agreed with Chris, and I can throw it over to him. But just all the beer companies that are investing in the potential for marijuana beverages, and even seeing some distributors also investing in being able to sell in their certain markets like Canada, where it's now legal.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of my big story from last year, was just the cannabis space and how much activity was actually happening there, and how much excitement there is in the cannabis industry. I think where it all goes is sort of yet to be seen. I was just reading, actually, before we started the podcast, that a bill was filed today, appropriately called H.R. 420,
Heyo.
Sick.
which would decriminalize and regulate marijuana, and it would actually move the sort of regulation of marijuana over to the TTB. And it's actually, the full name of the bill is Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol. It's called the Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol Act. So, I think the big sort of storyline is that this is, another
that just came through
substance
today,
that.
huh?
What's that?
That just came through today, that's been proposed?
Yeah.
Federally.
Federal bill was filed.
Yeah. I mean, TTB, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think for me it's like, what impact does this have on the broader alcohol sector? Not just beer companies and the beer space, but all alcohol. And there was another report actually today from the Distilled Spirits Council, and they had their economist pull a cut of data from Colorado and Washington and say, oh, well, spirit sales are up, so marijuana isn't affecting us. And I thought it was kind of disingenuous to suggest that. It's like, you can make data tell whatever story you want, and then all these, I think it was like Bloomberg reported it, and it's like, well, you neglected to mention that the person who cut the data was the guy that gets paid by a lobbying group that's specifically tasked with forming the narrative for spirits companies, right? So I think in general there's a lot of just question marks around cannabis and what it'll do to alcohol, and that was the storyline for last year, and I think it'll be the storyline for this year too. And
when in doubt, go with whatever Tony McGee said, and that's my motto.
Open field running.
Whatever Tony McGee said years ago is probably going to be true next year.
I gotta get out of here and buy some.
Yeah, he said that he saw it as a potential threat to craft beer.
Oh, for
like
sure.
2 years ago, I think he said. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to people who who own breweries or work at breweries in Colorado, and this is a slight aside, but that the liability of people taking edibles, coming into your tap room, and then drinking and then getting very inebriated is on the tap room. It's not on the dispensary right now. So I have a friend who works at a brewery, like literally around the corner from a dispensary, and they have to retrain everyone, like do the Bassett certification to see if people are overserved, but retrain people to be like, are they also like recently consuming edibles? So like there's another implication for breweries too, where it's like, that's on you. If someone falls out of their chair and gets hurt, like dram shop laws are such that
Great.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Because when we were in Colorado, I remember someone in the crew that we were with, that happened to them, and I remember them saying
Someone in the crew you were with got too high.
that we were with.
That
Remember
wasn't-
we were there together.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't you.
It was someone. I forget who at the time. So
Is there a reason why you forget?
yeah, because I'm on the air. But anyway, yeah, and there was certainly nobody.
Someone who totally wasn't me. Forgot
Is it
his
someone's
sweatshirt at-
nickname here, Stonehenge?
I believe.
Mike Stonehenge.
Yeah, Mike.
Strong.
Yeah,
That's me. Totally.
it's definitely you.
Yeah, no, that's a great point about the liability component of it. I mean, like nothing happens in a vacuum, right? So,
Right.
okay, let's just run this out. If you legalize marijuana in all 50 states, it becomes federally legal. They allow the states to regulate it like alcohol. That has a domino effect on every other industry around it, and now you have a situation where breweries are competing with dispensaries and grow houses, right, for real estate and
Right.
Warehouse space and CO2 and all these things that you don't really think about. So beyond the liability component and beyond the consumption and the disposable income and the things that we all talk about, there's things we're probably not even considering that are going to affect the alcohol space regardless.
Alcohol's never, as you're saying, never had competition in the intoxicant space. Like, there's no other legal intoxicant that you can
Right.
really go out and hang out with your friends and do. So it's a monopoly of a sort that will be interesting to watch.
The key operative phrase there or word is legal,
Right,
And
right.
I really hate that argument where it's like, oh well, people who've been buying marijuana on the black market, that's not going to change their consumption habits or how they interact with alcohol. And I don't know, that
Totally is.
It's like it is going to affect it. Like they're either going to pay more, they're going to pay less, or however it ends up shaking out over the long run. I mean, there is still a black market. They need to get rid of the black market. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, do you think about what happens with farmland, and farmers? They turn their crops over and start growing marijuana instead of hops or something else. There's just a whole lot of question marks.
Well, we'll see how the subsidies end up for that. If they're really going to turn over their cropland instead of getting a check from the government to grow marijuana. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, it doesn't make sense for them to grow marijuana now. I mean, from what I understand, up in Humboldt County, those farmers, those small farmers, they're barely struggling, or they're barely surviving. And
Yeah,
they're really
It's for the love of the
struggling.
game.
Are you referencing Murder Mountain?
I am referencing
Yeah,
Murder
I
Mountain.
just started
Yeah.
watching that as well, and I was completely taken aback by that fact that, in a way, to kind of destroy these kind of small farmers and this kind of illegal black market outlaw, marijuana culture, legalize it, try to entice these farmers to get involved, and then they find themselves unable to pay the costs associated with becoming a legal entity.
Right.
Yeah, real estate taxes and zoning taxes and city taxes and permitting and all that. They can't afford it.
Right, it's funny. Yeah, growing a controlled substance is not what these farmers are used to if they are professional farmers who just grow, other crops. It's probably entirely like different from any other crop, probably including tobacco as well, since it's, people aren't gonna steal your crops and do whatever. I don't know. But the other thing is I've heard of over farming, how in Oregon they've got a surplus of hundreds of thousands of pounds that just they grew too much.
Just burn them, right?
Yeah.
Just straight burn them up.
Yeah, burn it.
Well, I was at a conference earlier this year, and there was a very smart professor. I forget where he was from, and he had said that eventually he thinks that marijuana is going to be so cheap that hotels will actually at some point when it's federally legal, hotels will actually be leaving you joints on your pillow, much like they do with candy. That's how cheap it'll be.
But also at the same time, it's really early in this kind of legalization movement. I think the New York Times came out with a piece last month that said that ever since they legalized it statewide, recreational use, the taxes they brought in have gone down from when it was just medical marijuana. So they're not even collecting more money, at least in this first year. It's
Weird.
very confusing.
In California?
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Well, I think it was they didn't collect as much as they had anticipated,
Oh,
and part of that is
that's right.
because they didn't open the retail dispensaries fast enough because the cities are in control of issuing these permits and the zoning and the ordinances, and the cities are saying, no, we don't want these dispensaries here, when even if it is legal statewide. So it's a mess.
Well, that's so we've gotten through, what is it, one or two, three stories of the year we've done so far. Okay, all right.
I mean, kind of 4 because Ed and I tag teamed that one.
That's true. Well, I
was
think.
going to pick that
Good
one
job,
too,
Ed. You
but,
really
know.
crushed
Well, what did you pick,
Oh,
Jerry?
well,
Let's
tag
see if we can get through
What do you
Jerry's.
got, Jerry?
Well, I got the the sheet for the show a little bit late, and so there's already a bunch of filled in. But I guess the only thing I was thinking of that wasn't on there is that it was a relatively quiet year for Anheuser-Busch and just the acquisitions and mergers market, I think.
An anti-story is the story. Wonderful. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've, I can't remember anything significant happening for the entire year.
What do you think that means
but-
for that?
Obviously, somebody would be able to correct me.
I mean,
They didn't really make any moves in the U.S. I mean, CBA, which is 31.4% owned by Anheuser-Busch, acquired 3 smaller breweries: Appalachian Mountain, Wynwood, and Cisco. But that was, I guess, probably the
That's not a big splash of a story, So
it was less than
There were
$45 million.
no Lagunitas bought. There were no Sculpin or
even-
Ballast Points, and yeah.
Yeah, the multiples have gone way down.
I mean, that was for a long time. That was like every show was the discussion. So
Who got bought? Who got bought? Who got bought?
I would say that their investments probably haven't been paying off like that they thought that they would, so they've slowed their roll.
another
Well, I
story
think-
of the year.
And some people, I think,
also,
got-
it couldn't
got
have been
caught.
just acquire strategy. They acquired specific places, and then they filled out markets they thought would need, and they undercut on kegs, and they stifled the places they thought they needed to stifle. I don't know. I don't think they were just going to buy breweries forever. That's definitely not a sustainable model for them or an attractive one. So I don't.
But I mean, distributors have slowed down their right to sell.
Well, and you also had the DOJ, which was reviewing the SAB Miller, merger or Mega Brew or whatever. And so until that consent decree was finalized, Anheuser-Busch really couldn't do any big deals. So they were pretty non-active as a result of that. They agreed to all these provisions. They won't own more than 10% of the volume that they sell through wholly owned distributorships. They have to. The DOJ is going to review any acquisition above a certain amount. I'd have to go look up what the amount is again. So they kind of had to wait for all that stuff before they could make any significant moves. Which is why they did stuff internationally. They did the marijuana thing with Tilray.
It's I mean, I don't want to dive back quite yet to the marijuana thing, but what is interesting to me is I think the days, I don't think those days are ever going to come back of just like the 500 million, 300 or the $1 billion purchases for these breweries. And I think, there's some breweries that made out like bandits. I think Golden Road probably made out like a bandit there.
Ballast Point.
Ballast Point is obvious. But they at least had
who
been in the
didn't make out
game
like
for
a
a long
bandit?
time.
They were not
They
a
weren't
billion-dollar company.
No,
by
no, no.
any stretch
They made it
of the
out like
imagination.
bandits, true,
They made
but
$1
I think-
billion.
But they were chugging along. I think Golden Road was like
timing for a lot of that stuff.
hit it perfectly. We're going to go. We're going to expand. We're going to sell, and they sold exactly at the right time. Very
Yeah.
smart people there.
They were in the right market too, LA.
Right. But I think other people maybe wanted to do that, but didn't quite. Maybe that's what happened with Green Flash. Maybe that's.
I think you see a lot of breweries, and we're not going to name names, but they missed it by maybe 6 months, a year, and now they have a
Right.
brewery they're running that they didn't think they were going to be running, and it's like, watch it run and see what happens to these things and what they're going to do now. It's really interesting. You see places that are like, oh, wow, they clearly wanted to do this. They kind of were 6 months, 8 months, a year late, and
Which is nothing, really.
and they're some of the bigger breweries in the country, and they're still independently owned and operated, but they're these not zombies, but an interesting type of brewery that's at a scale where it has to produce specific things and it has to sell a specific amount of beer, and it's
Deschutes.
Kerry works for the Shoots then. So, FYI, Chris.
Well, I'm just saying.
The Shoots has been, they're the class of 80, what?
8.
We're in 29 states. I think we're sitting pretty good.
Yeah.
We have lots of room to grow, but we're just not going to do it falsely to do it.
Yeah, but there were some, expansions that then were pulled back, I think is what you were talking about, Chris.
Well, it's a
Well,
business.
I was thinking more things that opened within the last 10 years too.
Right,
where
right.
They got very big very
Built
quickly.
to
and then
sell.
all of a sudden they, the money dried up for selling to anything larger, and you're like, all right, what do you do now?
Right.
I'm just thinking more along the lines of like established top 50 breweries that are, struggling right now.
I think the really interesting part,
that's-
just not to interrupt, but the bottom 25 of that top 50 is where most of the people I'm thinking of are sitting right now. Where it's like what are these people going to do? Like, how do you grow? How do you expand the business? Where do you go?
It's a weird
from there?
space to be. Yeah, it's a
Innovation,
weird
but
space
Well,
to be.
the question is is that really the goal? Is to constantly expand and grow? Does that
It
necessarily have
depends
to
on-
be the model?
for those breweries?
the
It was
game.
it was expand, grow, and then sell, and then the third phase didn't seem to happen. As far as I have no inside information about any of these places. I'm just speculating. It's clearly outside looking in.
You're doing what we do on this show.
Hot takes.
Exactly. I love it.
The warmest take yet.
The warmest take, appropriate for this environment, this room here.
Yeah.
That's a 115-degree take there,
right.
buddy. And if that
That's-
ain't hot, I don't know what is.
Tap water takes.
Yeah.
You could definitely probably make an argument for a brewery in this city that you're talking about.
I'm not talking
that
about
I don't,
specifics.
and I would not say that that's what their motivation is. From the outside, from a different city, you might think that, but
There's one specifically that said we're going to be this type of brewery, and then it didn't,
Right.
and then they didn't achieve the goal of that. So
no, I think
vagaries prevail.
I think most of these people are in it for the right reason, but
I wasn't saying that they weren't, but these, specifically 25 breweries is what I was talking about. Or in the realm of
I
that.
think it's time that we take a break until we get to my story of the year. Obviously, the
You want like a
highlight-
really big segment opening up with your thoughts.
No, it's
Pastry
just
Would
style.
you
we're already,
believe?
we're already
Next
10
big
minutes
thing.
over.
Oh, we gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna get some
I wouldn't
fresh
mind
air.
getting some fresh air in here. I'm not gonna lie. So why don't we listen to 5 or 10 minutes of music? Maybe do it a little short. Oh, I already see where he's pulling his music from. The Metal Show. It says great. Anyway, so listen to Metal for a few minutes, and then we'll be back with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I am your host, Chris Quinn, and I am joined by my guests, my loud guests. No,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a very loud person.
Mike Shalal, a.k.a. You're Dusty. Yeah, you're Dusty Strong.
Depends on the day. You know?
Yeah. How is the Dust game?
Dust game's weak.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Economy's down.
Are
People are
you-
scared.
It's a bear market.
I'm
Are
buying.
you-
I'm.
You're
I'm
bullish.
bullish.
You're
I'm-
bullish.
You're
I'm-
buying all the dust coin?
Yeah, and you'll see. You'll see the error of your ways.
Well, you blockchain
All
the
these
recipe.
hazy-
You blockchain the recipe of dust, right?
Of course, I know what that means. And all these hazy beers are just distracting from the real monetary value. You buy dust, and then you hide under your mattress, and you bury it in your backyard.
And it gets more valuable and better with time.
Yeah, and then you shoot your intruders with crossbows, and they don't come at you anymore.
And then when need be, you've got your stockpile of dust. There's a little dance party
When need
going on.
be, it's
Ed, you
always
still got your
need be.
headphones on. Okay. I just got up and walked away. Anyway,
it's
I'm
just-
also. I didn't even get to my guest. So Mike, Jerry Nelson, Ed, Mar, Carrie, Quarter Cracks, Chris Fernari, and me, your host, Chris Quinn. So we haven't gotten to my my story of the year. So I have two that if
I thought you were going to forget about that. We can move on to something else.
Yeah,
we can do it. It's kind of they're kind of redundant. They're kind of redundant. But to me, it was the year of winter is coming.
So your last year is a prediction for the future. The year of winter is coming.
Yeah, and what I mean by is I think a lot of people were battening down the hatches, tightening up, getting ready, and acting in a more fearful way. I think fear played a bigger factor personally in a lot of what I
Did
saw.
you say fear factor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the JRE, the Joe Rogan
my
podcast?
God.
Now we're talking.
I
about
think
fear
people
factor.
are more unwilling. Generally, Ed, I know that you don't do hazies or pastry stouts, but I know that a lot of breweries were playing it. I think very, very safe. I think.
What
You
does that
You think
mean
it's
now?
safe to make a pastry boy in
Yeah.
a hazy in a cloudy boy beer?
Yeah.
You think that's safe?
the safest thing to
Do you
do.
brew beer, Chris? You even know how difficult it is to make a good haze, bro?
I know that if
Do you?
I do you even haze, bro?
Yeah, exactly. And what about you, the anti-pastry boy, hosted the most prestigious Haze Beer Awards
Listen,
ceremony
Chris is
in the
not-
country ever?
Chris is not an anti-pastry boy.
And you're saying that's a trend when
He's
it's
a- he's
certainly
a-
a niche opportunity.
He's a Borg assimilate.
Yeah.
He's being assimilated. He's been assimilated by the pastry
Ob-
Borg.
What? So
Hey, can we make pastry Borg?
pastry Borg. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. There we go.
Anyway, so what I wrote was from closings to staff reductions to refocus on breweries' home markets. Over and over again, we saw the signs that the music has stopped. So what I meant by winter was coming is now I think this year we're going to see what that actually means, but I think people were preparing for it. We saw the signs. I saw a lot of the bigger breweries were, maybe getting out in front of it and reducing staff. We mentioned Deschutes, but there were, all the big guys did it. It seemed Stone did it, Lagunitas
Belgium.
did it, New Belgium did it.
Constellation.
Clarification: Stone didn't cut employees. They had some executive shakeups, but they did cut employees like a couple years ago.
Okay, maybe it was a couple of years ago for them.
And no one was
But yeah,
buying
your
bigger
larger
buildings.
point, the macro point is there. I mean, everyone from AB to Miller Coors to companies like Deschutes to New Belgium, Pabst. I mean, everybody laid people off.
And to me, like that, is, the guys who have their stuff together, at least from an organizational point and from a forecasting point, when they're doing something, you take notice in it. The fact that they're also investing in cannabis, I think, says something. And I do think on the more local, smaller side, I am seeing, and I know I get a lot of people who disagree, but it's my opinion. I just lost. I don't know if I'm dead, but my headphones are dead. Anyway,
I can hear you. You're doing fine.
I've seen a narrowing of. It's fine now. Thank you, Jamie. A narrowing of focus on. A narrowing of focus in what's available from. In beer, I really do. I struggle to find for our shop as many examples of a broader range of stuff. If you want, I want local beer. You better like a couple different styles of beer because that's what's made.
What are those styles, Chris? What are you talking about?
Okay, so those styles are
Hazy boys from Mon.
hazy beers and adjuncts.
Hop-driven things.
Yeah,
Well, we're a really small brewery, right? We do make the haze.
I don't
Haze Bros.
think you are a good example.
Yeah, but I'm not, because it confuses me
'Cause
because
you're
we make a
super-
wide range of beers. I don't know what you're talking about personally, and that's
Sure.
my only tiny little cubicle that I sit in this universe, right?
What I'm saying is, if you walk into,
But I still could
Yeah.
get all the beers I love from the local breweries, from like Half Acre and Pipeworks of various styles. What are you talking about? Which breweries are focusing in on a few styles? Jerry's not. Jerry's got a Haze Bro brewery and he's got a Pastry Borg brewery. But he also
And
makes
he's got a
sours.
Belgian
He also
brewery.
knows Belgian stuff. He has a wide range of beer he keeps making.
Maybe it's the consumer, Chris. Maybe the consumer has swayed so far to a more singular style, or just a couple styles, and you're reacting to that, and therefore carrying those products in your store.
We may,
Well,
we
breweries
may
are
also be
reacting
experiencing
to
a thing where, like,
consumers.
sorry, go ahead.
I just said breweries are reacting to consumers, like we were discussing
Yeah.
earlier. Brewers aren't just, esoterically creating necessarily what they want to do on a whim. They're more focused on what is going to sell.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And- well, and-
100%. I totally agree. But the end result is still a narrowing of focus. I think. I don't think that is.
We may be in a
yeah.
situation right now. So go to think about Germany. Germany makes lagers. They make varying degrees
And
of
you and I
lagers.
have literally had this argument on this show in the
And
past.
Kolsch's
Yeah.
and
But like
Altbiers.
what America does is grow the most interesting hops. So I don't know if we're ever gonna evolve. I'm using air quotes out of hop-driven beers ever. The same way that Germany's not going to evolve out of making lagers. So we do something better than anyone else in the world does. Germany is better at the process of making this thing that it involves attention to detail and specific control over certain things. We are really good at making things with these styles of hops that didn't exist before. Until the 80s, the hops they're using in IPAs now didn't exist.
All right, so this goes into my second-
We came of age in a place where these things were not even possible. So,
But he's talking about specifically recently that the narrowing of styles of beers wanted by consumers is troubling to him.
but this is the nature of how markets go. Germany only makes these styles of beers, and they've only made them for the last 500 years. People pretend to think it's some sort of Reinheitsgebot thing. It's not. It's because that's what those people like. It might be if we're lucky, the next 500 years we find styles of beers that people like. We will make those. And
There's so much that you could. There's so many ways.
By that
we
logic,
could
then we all
divulge
like
into
Bud
that.
Light.
Right. I mean,
Well, we do all like Bud Light. Do you not drink light lager? Do you not drink macro lager?
no. I mean, there's
No, answer the
there's
question,
so much
Chris.
stuff. No. There. That I don't think that's the point. First of all, the history of now we're going down that rabbit hole, but I don't want to go there. Historically, there were terroir-driven aspects to what was brewed in a certain area. It's not that people in London liked porter and people in Germany liked Helles, and that people in Burton liked hoppier beer. It's that the beers tasted better there.
Right, because the argument is defined by the ability for the ingredients that they were given to
Yeah.
create something flavorful
Yeah.
was different. So that we're given the ability to make flavorful things from the Pacific Northwest, hops coming from the Pacific Northwest, and no one's had hops like that before, and that will define American beer forever.
Sure. So this is kind of all right. So we'll just go right to my second one then, I guess. My main
Sorry, I
doesn't
didn't- I
matter.
didn't mean to.
Winter's not coming. I take it back. 2019 is going to be a great banner year for craft beer.
Winter may be coming. I'm not saying.
So I also think the dominance of hazy juicy, I don't think this is a bad thing, but it is hard to believe. I was talking to Mike on the ride down about some of the very first Midwest hazy beers that I remembered. I had to look them up about when they were first made. And Snoochie Bucci from Forbidden Root, and then there was one called M43 from Old Nation in Michigan, which I remember hearing it as in the context of nobody's making these style beers in the Midwest. That's kind of funny to me. I know there's those guys, Hoofhearted, and who else? And those guys are in Ohio. And then I heard of M43. I looked up when it was started. The first rating or anything I could find was in December of 2016. That's only 2 years ago, and it has just absolutely exploded. And an explosion like that has not happened before. And I'm not saying that it's in craft beer in America. I'm not going to say that, well, historically, the Czech lager did explode and took out porter as the most popular style. But so
Old man Chris.
yeah, exactly. But my point is more people are reacting or more reactionary, maybe because now in the age of social media, they can get feedback faster and react to it. But, it used to be like, screw it, we brew what we like. That used to be like the cool marketing kind of thing to say. That's not it anymore. Now it's, you like brewed IPA? We'll make you one. I mean, Sierra Nevada has a brewed IPA out. That beer, that style is like 6 months old. Well, it's like ridiculous.
I was at your
right. Same with everyone.
Today.
I'm using them. Like if Sierra Nevada's doing it, obviously everybody else has already done it.
One of you, Max pointed out to me that Surly had released a
Max, an employee at the Beer Temple.
Yeah, released a brewed IPA and a milkshake IPA within the same week, which are there's no more divergent flavors than those two things. We're trying to make the sweetest hop-driven thing and the driest hop-driven thing, but we're trying to cover all these things because everyone thinks they're hop-driven now, because hops are what we do, American-wise. And it's sprawling. It's literally sprawling all over.
So what's happening is, I think that, a story I often hear from breweries is, our brewmasters were pushing back, and we were just talking about over the break how there was a press release from Firestone Walker about their new hazy beer, and it was something to the effect of, we weren't ready to brew it until we wanted to brew it our way, meaning like we didn't want to brew one, but now we have to brew one, is how I read it. Yeah. And that's what everyone's saying. So that's what I mean by reactionary. It's not like we brew what we want to brew, which might have always been BS and was probably somewhat always BS, but it was probably a little bit more true. And I think...
Well, that also is trickling down smaller and smaller, where the smaller you were, like the more real that was. We made what we wanted to make, and we made it like This all started because we all started homebrewing, right?
But the
then we all started making beers we couldn't get, and now it's like, well, now we need to sell the beer. So now
the smaller guys are almost more homogenous now, though.
Yeah,
they're more homogenous.
Chris,
they're all the same, and that did not used to be the case. The little guys were making a wide variety of stuff back in the day. Right. They were the ones who were going out and being like, screw it. This is what we are doing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, if it's a small local brewery, it's going to be in cans, and it's going to be hazy, and it's going to be juicy.
Right.
That's just what it's going to be. What's up, Chris?
But don't you think that some of that is being driven by the whole taproom phenomenon as well, and consumers sort of expecting a very specific experience when they show up at a taproom? They expect there to be a hazy on tap, or multiple hazies. They expect these certain styles of beer. They expect 4-pack 16s dropped weekly, 60 cases that are gone in 3 hours. I feel like that is being driven by the business model of, hey, we have this small taproom-focused brewery, and we're giving consumers what they want. And you're right, the shift has gone from we brew what we like to give the consumer what they want.
Right, but what does the consumer want? Does the consumer want, and does that specific consumer, what do they want? Do they want a selfie standing in line? Is that do they want the rare? Do they want to say that, hey, my neighborhood also has a Whalesboro brewery, so here's my haze I don't know, like, what do they want?
This is like this year, like, if there's a story
it's
that's
so
not a real
crazy.
story for me, like, this year is the first time I've felt that I am disconnected from what people actually want.
100%. Honestly, that is my personal beer story of the year. I feel more disconnected from what's going on than ever. I am old man Chris, 100%.
Yeah, I'm more aware of what I want to drink and like what it is, and I'm less aware of how to predict what other people want to have. Like, it's terrifying as someone who works in a brewery, who oversees like new recipe creation and like whatever it is my job is. But I have a very good idea of what tastes good, and I am less and less connected to what is going to be exciting to people. Those used to be very aligned, and I don't think that I've been not paying attention, but it's just it's floated away in a way where I'm like, I don't know if this is.
Are you becoming old man Mike?
Entirely. I'm turning 30 in a couple weeks.
I think
and I think I'm an old person now. Like I'm like I really don't know what the kids want these days, and it's a weird feeling. Like it was. Yeah,
I was
Jerry,
gonna
what's
say,
up?
I think I was gonna say, I think what they excites them, but you don't really want to make them all. You don't want to go wholeheartedly into making everything that they're asking for. And I don't either. And we haven't made a brewed IPA, and some of the other.
Well, it might be, but I actually it's more that I don't actually know what they want. Like it could be that like when. It was mostly you could understand why people bought things and what they were like, what they wanted to taste and smell and what it was. But now I literally have no idea.
I think
I don't
what
think
they want and what they will buy is becoming maybe more divergent. I think that beers that look good on Instagram have a larger effect than I think maybe is been recognized.
I think that's
I mean, look at the
a
slow
good
pour
point.
pills. That's like they tried to make a
slow
thing
pour
with it.
pills forever, and the Iceman is not good.
Right. I mean, it's the beer has to have some sort of visual identification to it.
I'm not against that. I think
That
that's
has to,
that's,
but that's
not bad.
I'm
There's
not,
but there's also
but you are then
but what is the
painting yourself in a corner in some sense because
and you and
breakthroughs.
I have had this argument many a times, at least once. But the visual of something is a signaling tool. So when you have a slow pour pills that has like a very big head, you cannot do that with certain styles of beer. You cannot do that with beers that aren't made. You're shaking your head, but
No.
I proved you wrong when I told you to slow pour this beer and have the head retain. It won't. A slow pour, thick head, rocky Suarez pour means that it was made in a specific way that is malt, hop, water, whatever it is that creates this lattice. Whether or not it's valuable to other people is a different thing. So
you know what though? I think what you're all trying to say is that there's all these different trends or styles that happen from brewed IPA to remember sours were a big idea. People are making their own method gouzoirs. Last year's craft beer trade show, the Brewers Association trade show, what'd you see? Cool ships. Everybody was building cool ships. Everyone's gonna have everyone's ordered their cool ship. Everyone's gonna make a cool ship beer this year. There's definitely multiple directions and multiple tentacles you have to put out. Any brewery has to put out in order to respond to what's going on in the marketplace.
is it just fracturing? Is it just the fact that
Well,
we're all craft brewers and
we never said we're going to be all Belgian inspired beer or we're all going to do pilsners. So it's like maybe that's someone's business model, but the reality is you're just seeing another trend, Chris, and it exploded really quickly, probably due to the power of social media.
Well, and there's only so many opportunities for points of purchase. So I think that we're all chasing each other's tails right now.
let's go to predictions for the next year. That's kind of the fun thing. And then we'll review quickly, I think, because we don't have much time, what some of the predictions from last year were. Or should we do the predictions from last year first? That won't take long. So let's look at our 2018 predictions reviewed. First, I have to go with my 2017 prediction because it was spot on, which was the proliferation of own premise and own premise releases and stuff like that. Okay, I nailed that
All right,
one.
good job, Chris.
I have to say it because I totally couldn't have been more wrong with my last year's prediction, which was more breweries are going to focus on core products and seasonal/annuals, focusing on obtaining, retaining drinkers, and getting them loyal to their brands. The days of new. We'll begin to see the early beginnings, many qualifiers there, of a lull. Absolutely
you
not.
really crushed that one.
No, couldn't have been more wrong.
Right?
I mean,
Why did that happen? You don't know.
yeah, I mean, I just think that people are still in the rat race of the new. I personally think that's not sustainable, and eventually there will be kind of a refocusing on it. I just think it makes so much more financial sense that it makes sense for people to market and push people in that direction, but it obviously has not happened. Ed, yours was no more new breweries will open in Illinois. Nailed that one, according to the IXC website.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for saying I said something right.
That was tongue in cheek, right?
No, it was not. More commodity pricing wars ahead to squeeze out small guys. A few more breweries will
That's
close in
happening.
Illinois. Quality will
That
determine
happened.
which breweries will thrive. But no, his first sentence, no more new breweries will open in Illinois. We were just named the number one brewery.
Most saturated market.
market. So, Fern.
Thank you for crediting me. with that.
Continued small
Yes.
brewery consolidation and at least one, quote, major deal announcement. Boston Beer, ? New Belgian, ? Yuengling, ? Molson Coors and Heineken, ?
That was as accurate as yours, Chris.
Yes, I don't think none of us have been accurate. Jerry, all these people are on the last show. That's great. More big breweries will announce that they are opening tap rooms in their top markets, including Sierra Nevada. Did
we
not
are all so
happen. So this is all great because you should not listen at all to what we're about to say for our prediction. And then I've got your end of year prediction from 2017, Mike.
That's right.
You weren't here last year, but the year before. Move towards smaller, on-premise only. Non-brew pub breweries are the bulk of new breweries opening. I also predicted that last year. That was an easy
You
one.
predicted it a year after I predicted it.
No. That was 2 years ago. Same year you did.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we're both
yeah.
geniuses.
Yeah, we're both
Clearly,
geniuses.
we know exactly.
At least we
what's going on.
we were, but then we did.
Yeah.
Now we don't. Now
Well,
we
my
have no idea.
I think the year before for me was like a move away from bitterness into like hop driven, like non-bitter things. I was so
All right. So
ahead
what he's
of
saying
you.
is,
I'm a genius.
Your prediction is for this year is going to be spot
yeah.
on.
If
So
you-
why don't you start? What is your prediction for 2019, Mike?
It's like a rise of specialist breweries. So breweries that aren't trying to make a bunch of different things, but are like visibly saying, we make this and we make it better than
We
other
only make
people.
hazy and pastry.
Right. That exists
That's
already.
pretty good.
And sour.
Yeah. But no, breweries saying we make lager, we make saison, we do this thing. Because if you look at the landscape and the space taken up by a lot of breweries, it's swamped, at least here. And there's a few runways where you can land a smaller plane and own that space. And I don't see a brewery getting to the 10,000, 20,000 barrel point at all. I only see breweries that know how to run a brewery in this landscape and making things specifically what they believe in. So I see the rise of specialty breweries that focus on a few different styles and do them incredibly well.
I think that is. I tend to agree. I think that the market will become ripe for that. Maybe not right now, but maybe later in the year. I think.
Right. And this doesn't mean that these breweries don't already exist. It's just the ability,
The rise of those
or the
breweries, yeah.
focus on them as like, hey, they are actually making these things. I think a lot of what has happened to some less made styles is that a brewery that focuses on hop-driven beers or hazy beers or things that like we all know how to make relatively well at this point also makes X, Y, and Z style. People have had less than ideal interactions with those. So if they are actually people who want to seek out flavorful things, they will find these types of beers, and they will find them from producers who are focused on them. So that's my prediction is specialists, rise of specialist breweries.
I will go next, despite, So, because I think it kind of plays into it. I think, and I'm setting. I swing big. I swing for the fences. Resistance to haze.
Nope.
Yeah, go for it. By the end of the year,
You will be assimilated.
yeah, the ubiquity of haze will
Or
start. Listen to
Geyser.
what I'm saying. The ubiquity of haze will start to wear thin on some drinkers who may go as far to having a reactionary response against them, or more likely actively look for other stuff to drink. Who will be able to scratch that itch for people? And I think it is specialist breweries and people who have kind of stuck to their guns and said, you know what, we're going to keep this thing available. This is around, and good sales reps who are living that rep life like Carrie does, we'll say like, hey guys, like, that customers are coming in and asking for this and this and this. You've got 3 hazies. Do you realize that every IPA you have is the same flavor profile? Try one of them with this flavor profile and see how it goes. And my guess is that by the end of by the end of 2019, people are going to say, okay, I get it. I like having them. I want to still have them. I'm not saying hazy's going to go away, but I'm saying it might reach a tipping point where people don't just say, it's not the new thing that they have to try. They've tried it, they understand it, and sometimes they want it, and sometimes they don't want it. And when they don't want it, they wanted something else that still might be hoppy, and I think there's people who might be able to take advantage of that. That's my main prediction. What's yours, Jerry?
I think the sour market's going to come back.
I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical on that one. I'm bearish on that.
You're gonna go against that one, huh?
I don't know, man. I mean, when Cool Ship and Resurgam, when I just turned around and saw Resurgam on the shelf, then again, I see nothing but haze, so whatever. Man, that's
Just
a pretty
dust
good
and
sour beer.
haze.
We have it sitting right there. Nobody's even opened it. I mean, that's I think a landmark American sour right there.
I think we've gotten too acidic. Like, if I may be frank, like, our sour beers are too sour. They're not.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I think they ruined that chance here in Illinois or Chicago because they were making these kind of acid bombs.
Vinegar water.
Well, I'm not even talking about Resurgam, but sour beers in general, like, the average consumer, like, they're just teeth-scrapingly unapproachable. Sour beer is something that people will like at some point, but like it's been hurt by people being too sour. Like you can't make sour the same way you can just hop a thing.
Well, they made like abrasively bitter beers, hop IPAs, and that didn't seem to kill
it didn't. But I think that we killed sour by being too sour, and most people that are supposed to be like really good stewards of it are too sour as well. Like, the artisanal producers of sour things are too sour.
I think a lot of the uber echelon sour producers there were a bunch of them that had a phase that went
way too sour.
Way sour.
Actually,
and a lot of them have pulled back.
At Midwest Belgian Beer Fest, I talked to one that they gave me...
You were so bad at, like... I thought we had, like...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But I tried one. I was like, oh, cool. It's not like a huge acid bomb. They're like, yeah, we had to actually get rid of a bunch of barrels because they were all too sour. So hopefully it gets pulled back. But I think things have gotten too sour for even diehard fans of these things to really like.
Carrie, what's your prediction?
Okay, I have a few. Health and wellness, the low carb, the low cal drinker.
good
You're going to see a lot
call.
of breweries making those kind of beverages.
Smart.
Also, you're going to see a lot of people shifting to drinking seltzers or breweries creating their own line of seltzers.
Very smart.
More staff closings or more staff reductions and closings,
Yeah.
and then brewed IPA is going to, I think, take off this year.
Do you really?
That's
really
good to
do.
hear because a lot of people ruined that style here in Chicago.
Yeah.
No offense, fellow
What
brewers.
is that style? Nobody knows what that style is. I am sorry.
That style is people who don't realize they really love Saison.
I mean, that
Close
style.
to it. Yeah. You know what? I think your predictions are great because we've been working on Water on Mars for a while. I like the seltzer thing. We've been working on a 0% and a 1% beer, right?
Yep.
So it's like great to hear your predictions because I feel like we're making the right decisions.
Jerry's working on
Chilling.
massive gains.
Yeah.
That's health and
Massive
wellness.
Gates Health and Wellness. My predictions are the resurgence and to double up and triple down on your predictions from the last few years, breweries in Illinois and Chicago will open additional tap rooms. Second and third tap rooms.
So from last year where no
trend-
one will open.
Trend will continue.
Trend will now.
Reverse completely to second and third tap
I
rooms.
so much hope that not a single one opens. But I know that's
Yeah.
not going to happen.
I hope
It's
one
going to happen.
opens.
At least one of them is going to happen.
At least one
Maybe
second tap room is
don't
going
make
to
Two,
happen.
two or three will happen this next year. I want to hear the
Chris,
recording.
what is your prediction?
Well, I too had health and wellness down. I think that the seltzer thing is kind of wrapped up in that. We're seeing a lot of non-alc beers. I'm actually drinking a non-alcoholic beer right now.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking. It's called Upside Down. It's a golden ale made by Athletic Brewing in Connecticut. They make nothing but non-alcoholic beers.
Athletic Brew for the health conscious.
Yeah.
Connecticut.
So I think we'll see more non-alc. I think we'll see,
It's crushing it.
more quote-unquote better for you or functional beverages. I think I saw Dogfish Head's doing like a low-cal IPA. They have a sort of cousin to the Sea Quench beer that they do. So I think we'll see more of that.
Did you just say low-cal IPA?
Yeah.
That's
I saw
a pretty
approval
hot
for a
SoCal, low-cal, baby.
That's pretty hot. Low-cal IPA sounds really cool.
SoCal.
Yeah, so I think we'll definitely see that trend pick up. I think
Craft Ultra, is that the trend? Craft Ultra?
Yeah, well,
Craft a little
St. Archer
bit.
has
I mean,
like a
but
craft
so
light
what
lager
we're
that they
saying
make.
is now craft beer is going to take its cues from big beer.
Yep, it's
Great.
come full circle.
Great.
Yep.
There you go, guys. That's what it is. Just
That's
chase.
dark, Chris. Can we have something
Just
nice
chase.
before we close
No,
this out?
no. Just chase. Don't have
Dark, too
any
dark.
individuality
We're
or
fully-
care.
we're
Just
fully evolved.
chase.
We're
Too
fully
dark.
evolved.
Oh
I
my
would say that I
God,
wasn't
that is
completely wrong
depressing.
on my 2018 prediction. There were still some consolidation, and I'll
there
go
was,
ahead and
there
I'll
was.
make
There
a
was.
big. I'll make a big prediction since I was, I said that there would be a big deal last year, and I was wrong. I'll just go ahead and double down on that, and I'll say that Anheuser-Busch buys Craft Brew Alliance this year.
Yeah, I think you're
Don't
right,
they
man.
already own Craft Brew Alliance? Like
Not
they're
100% of it.
Well, not a
And they've
bold
been
prediction.
resistant to it as well.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
haven't. This is the year. This is the last year that they can make their qualifying offer for $24.50 per share, unless they renegotiate that contract.
What's
But,
that come out to, by the way?
This guy did research. That's not
470 million or so.
And how many barrels are they all producing?
Craft Brew Alliance.
Yeah.
700,000 or so.
That's a lot.
You got
like a
a
deal.
little ways to go,
fair.
Ed.
That's not enough for
a deal.
to spend 400.
It's a deal?
It's a deal.
No, it's not.
Well,
700,000 for 400 million? That's crazy number.
yeah. Well, there's the predictions. We got them down. It's official. They're all gonna come true. Man. Okay then. Well, I guess I'm just gonna go drink a Fathead Headhunter because that's all I really want to drink.
Yeah, with the prediction, my prediction is Fathead Headhunter will still be Chris's favorite beer.
It might be. And it might be the
Gotta
only
win one of these.
the only place where I can find that flavor profile left in the Midwest.
Oh God, we cursed him. All right, we gotta go.
Right.
Jamie, take us out.
Okay. No, don't take us out. Thank you, guys. Sorry we're going to rush this. I was told we could go 15 minutes late, but apparently we can go 1 minute short.
Wait a minute, we could go 15 minutes late?
No, apparently not.
Oh, okay.
That's what I
You could. What do you want to talk about, though?
Who's in charge here?
These kernels of wisdom, these
I think it's best we end
advanced
it.
industry analysis
Yeah.
and advice for the entire beer community has been made. And
Leave them wanting
succinctly.
more, which is why we
Here's
should have
one
ended
prediction: we
20
all
minutes
get
ago.
fired.
Yeah.
So, guys, I want to thank my guests, Chris Fernari, Carrie Corticrex, Jerry Nelson,
my
Mike
name?
something, Ed Marr, and for another year end. It's cool that we've got a bunch of people 2 years in a row or 2 out of 3, and then
Genius,
Yeah,
Chris.
genius
Chris.
analyst, Chris.
Yeah,
thank
Chris
you for
Fernari.
Yeah.
your wise words tonight.
Yeah, it was
absolutely.
kind of insulting you to actually do research to have informed opinions, but whatever.
I'll come in less prepared next
Showing
time.
us, yeah. Please
Right.
come less
Please.
prepared next time.
Come on. be
I'm gonna
prepared.
come to the studio at some point again, and
Yeah.
I'll just like get like fully baked, and then we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You
be
definitely just
prepared to
can't-
be unprepared.
You definitely can't just give us the actual value of something. So.
Yeah, you can't have the answers.
Yeah, numbers aren't allowed.
Please don't have any data. Please.
Yeah.
It contradicts everything
And I
we
want to
say.
also thank you guys
intuition-based
so
process.
much for listening. It's been awesome, and yeah, we'll keep it up and be back with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. So long.
Remember this is what we wanted.
Oh yeah.
Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again.